Hello and thanks for checking out ChartGuys.com. We're proud to be one of the most successful technical analysis communities online, teaching you the skills to become a more confident, effective, and informed trader. Join our community of hundreds of analysts worldwide working together to learn the charts, generate profit, and achieve financial independence. For access to daily live chart analysis and market coverage, a thriving chat community, along with dozens of hours of exclusive educational materials. We look forward to seeing you. Let's check out some charts.
Checking in on the Canadian MJ sector with some US names thrown in here as well. So we had an attempt for the bulls to confirm the daily bull flag by looking for continuation by breaking the top of the bounce to this point. That did not play out, but the bulls are still just fine overall. And we had a bunch of members pointing out early on in a good job of observation that if we're going to see a bull flag confirmation kind of day, we need more volume than that. Yes, it's more volume than before all this action started taking place, but compared to the bull volume we saw on the run up, it's pretty insignificant. So we would have to see a solid bull volume day in order to see the kind of buying pressure needed to get over that resistance level. So now we're looking at a consolidating range on the 4-hour time frame, with that being a lower high at 44.40. Bulls are still in control. Like I said, they still have higher lows here, and they have to break 44.40 and 44.88 to see this continuation move. We're riding exponential support here on the 4-hour time frame. Hourly chart, there was our pullback, so our first support level is going to be 42.51 at the end of the day, and a little bit of upside action after hours, not very meaningful. We were consolidating into the close with a bit of a sell-off in the sector, and it hit ACB the hardest. We'll look at that in just a second, but we had support down here at 40.80 and now a higher low at 42.51. So as long as the higher lows are holding on the hourly, the bulls are just fine. If we lose that higher low pattern tomorrow, and actually, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and disregard because there's no volume behind this after hours move. So as far as I'm concerned, we have not established the hourly higher low yet. So if we come out tomorrow morning and break 42.59, we're still going to be looking for an hourly higher low compared to 40.80. So that's an important distinction to make. We could stay in this tightening equilibrium pattern and look for a higher low with a bit more of a pullback tomorrow morning. So this morning on the 5-minute time frame, we had a huge bull move right out of the gate. Bulls buying the dip. There was a correlation to SPY as the SPY bulls did the same thing, but CGC keeping that momentum up for the vast majority of the morning. This was an example where I'm still obviously recovering from my cold, as I'm sure you'll figure out as I keep it going here, but I missed this bull move. But rather than get frustrated with myself and say, oh man, I didn't enter and I can't trade today now, I just patiently waited and just played the 5-minute uptrend. So I ended up trading CGC 4 different times today. 2 of them were a little bit more than break even, but pretty much, taco gains. One of them was a bit of a bigger gain, maybe a taco party gain. And then the 4th trade that I took, and that was actually the 3rd trade, was looking at this move right here, where I went out for the day, cleared my mind, and got outside for the first time in a couple days, took an hour or 2 off, came back, saw the clear higher low pattern, and right here is where we had the clear higher lows of 43.34, another one established at 43.47, and I entered on this bull break of 43.78. And the reason for that is because the only resistance after that is the high of the day, and I have a very clear stop level. It's the last 5-minute higher low. So I made an entry, my stop was below 43.47, and then just scaled out of my order with the bull move to the new high of the day on some impressive bull volume. And then that little volume climax marked the high of that bull move. So that patiently just waiting for that one trade to make my day and give me that day maker while missing that big bull move is a good example of staying patient and, not giving up on the day just because you may be frustrated. So overall, bulls still holding on, but unable to punch through resistance today, and we'll see if we consolidate for that tightening 4-hour equilibrium pattern into tomorrow. ACB, the reaction to the bearish news, solid bounce first thing with the correlation to SPY and to CGC. So big time bull move, and this is the Canadian ticker, but 881 to 942. That's a solid 6% plus move. And then it faded at the end of the day. Look at that bear volume. So clearly, people waiting until the end of the day to exit in a big way. You compare it to the volume, and only the first 45 minutes of volume were higher. So obviously a very notable race to the exit at the end of the day. So that has us on the daily chart closing at the low of the day, which is an indication that we're probably not done pulling back just yet, and we still have to wait to find our daily higher low due to the lack of resistance because of how hard we ran up that means the pullback can be a bit more significant as well. The hourly chart changing the trend back in favor of the bulls will be an indication that the daily high or low has been established. And at this point, it's very clear, just lower highs and lower lows. So keeping an eye on this hourly chart for the indication of when the daily support level will be set. Cron is also trying to break resistance. There's a lot of names out there today that tried to break resistance, but didn't really get that follow through. So the range on Cron is the top of the bull move, 14.15. The low of consolidation is 12.75. Here's our inability to break resistance. But again, just like CGC, the bulls are hanging in there just fine. And we might be forming a 4-hour lower high at 13.91. And then we'll just need to form a higher low compared to 12.75. So watching for the potential that we just get a tightening range into Monday. And if we do, then we'll look for Monday to be an important day for both CGC and Cron as far as the short term goes. APHA, still not doing anything for the bulls, but overall, we're just not really seeing a whole lot of action. Clearly, it's pulling back, but there's not a ton of bear volume behind it, so there's no major red flags. We are shifting momentum a little bit. 846 is support, and we're holding that at this point. If we break 846, I'm looking down at 828 and 806. We have a clear hourly downtrend to be watching. Just clear little lower highs and lower lows. The most recent one, 869 resistance, as well as 876. And we'll have to, again, see the hourly trend change for that momentum to shift back towards the bulls. But overall, in terms of clarity, if you're not already in a position, I personally would rather be trading the other names that have wider ranges and more clarity with their current setups. TLRY, another daily inside bar. This is likely to break tomorrow. Declining volume on the tightening ranges, which is normally the case. 82.56 break is bearish. 86.31 break is bullish. So we just look on the shorter term time frames, and the hourly chart shows just a tight sideways trading channel that we're going to look for that break on tomorrow. And to get the indication that the break is for real, you want to see a volume spike, and we want to see more than 3 million shares traded. And on the daily time frame, so we got a little bit of a bounce, but not a whole lot of follow through. No bull volume behind it. So looking at it on the hourly time frame, we changed that hourly trend, tightened up a little bit, just trading sideways a little bit, not really a whole lot of follow through. But the most important levels are the low of the pullback at this point, 120, the high of the bounce at 143, and that's still a very solid, 10% bounce. A little bit misleading because of the way these candlesticks look, but there's a lot of range within these candlesticks. So a 10% bounce, and now the bulls have to form a higher low compared to 120, and then see continuation, ideally with increasing bull volume over 143. Just want to touch back in that we had a reaction to Netflix, the earnings, and in the tech sector, first glimpse of earnings for this season, and it's really not a significant effect right now. So not going to see Netflix with a major impact on the market tomorrow unless it dumps once that bell rings. T-God on the daily chart still pulling back, still have not shifted the hourly trend to the bulls in order to indicate the daily high or low has been established. We've got our 286 and 289 support. 301 is the most important short-term resistance. And to change this hourly trend, we have to break that 301 level. So again, looking at it on the daily chart, higher low pattern, healthy consolidation, declining volume, but no indication that we formed that higher low just yet. All right, fifth attempt on TRUL here. So we had a gap up open on news that Florida is going to allow the sale of dried flower. That's big. The market in Florida is huge. I think it's something like 55% of the entire Canadian population. So companies that are exposed to that market, that state, are obviously going to respond very bullish to that news because it opens the door even wider to the amount of profit that they can see. So this was a gap up open. It was a sell the news gap up. And we had a nice bounce from the low of the day. And that low of the day was pretty much where the gap filled. 1294 was the gap fill. We dropped down to 1290. Let's look at it on the 5-minute time frame because it was a very swift recovery from actually the initial dip. Did not exactly, well, let's see. It did fill that gap. So the initial dip filled the gap by 2 pennies. Then that bounce came up to 1350. So a very nice little 5% bounce on that move. And then we ended up setting the low of the day and then recovering towards the end of the day, putting the bulls in pretty good position to potentially see continuation. So the hourly time frame established that support level in the morning at that low of 1290. And if we can't break 1370 tomorrow morning first thing, we're going to look for a pullback and then a higher low to form compared to 1290 to give us that tightening range. If we do break 1370, this daily chart certainly in breakout mode to a certain degree, continuing this higher low, higher high pattern. And I'm not sure exactly when that news came out, but looks like a bit of insider information if it came out after hours If it didn't happen during yesterday's trading, that's very unusual volume. Anyways, forget all the conspiracy. So in terms of resistance, 1395, 1480, the next two levels after 1370. HEXO, nice inside bar breaking bullish, so the hourly time frame indicating the daily higher low had been established. And this was a move that didn't really allow for much entry, really, where we had the low at 601 set, and some moves give us a very clear hourly trend change, and some just go. And this was one that just went with hardly any consolidation and just a significant bull move breaking lots of resistance levels. So we have not consolidated on the hourly time frame since down here at 608. So a bit extended on the hourly. A higher low will need to form compared to 608, and then we're looking up at resistance of 645 and 661. So very healthy daily consolidation at this point. Still a potential bull flag, just 2 brief days of consolidation on declining bear volume, spike in bull volume when the bulls do start to buy a bit, and we'll see if they can keep up that volume. If not, we're going to have a tightening range like we have on a lot of these names like CGC and Cron. OGI, can't get much tighter than that. 3 daily inside bars in a row, volume dropping off significantly. The bears have favor because we closed at the low of the day. Looking down at support, first level is 620, 615, 605, nice and round numbers. 634 and 638 are the 2 resistance levels. So obviously a very tight, drawn-out equilibrium, and a break is imminent. And if we were to see 620 break first thing, and then the bulls buy the dip and break 626, that would be a bit of a fake out. So when a break occurs in the first 5-10 minutes of trading, that's when breakout or fake outs are more likely to occur, in my opinion, because we do have that surge of activity and volume after the bell rings. TRST, daily inside bar broke bullish as well, but we could not follow through and break the resistances. Again, we need a volume spike to be confident that we're going to see continuation on the daily, and we didn't have that. So zooming in on the 4 hour, 860 is resistance, 851, and if we cannot break 851, we're looking for just another lower high. Key short-term support is 784, that's our range, and again, we're either going to break resistance tomorrow or need to pull back and form a higher low and give us this tightening range that we see on so many individual names. Overall, the market's holding up just fine. A lot of these names are consolidating just fine. It's just a question of further consolidation is coming into next week, or whether bull volume... Keep it together, Dan. Whether bull volume can break and be significant enough tomorrow to break these resistances to higher highs. And of course, we're always going to watch the sector leader, CGC, for any clues. I'll see you tomorrow.